Okay, it's been a little while since I've done one of these, huh? So, I've been very, very busy just doing lots of business stuff, just getting everything figured out. It's just, oh my god, it's such a freaking mess working on all these projects. But I think I'm finally ready to show off the latest design here, the Nifty Shifter Junior. So this is the version 1 prototype. That I'd like to test out and see how it does. My Jeep has been down this entire freaking year, so I haven't been able to actually road test anything. So, guess what, beta testers? It's up to you to tell me if my shit works or not, because I have no idea. So, the goal of this project was to make it very simple and just do a couple things, but do them really well and for a decent price point. So that's what the Nifty Shifter Junior does. So let's slide the case off and I'll show you what's inside. Alright, so under the sheath, here it be. The Nifty Shifter version 1 prototype. Ain't that a looker? So this is a very interesting design for me because it's the first one that I've made that doesn't use a microcontroller. So there's not a single bit of code on this device. And that is very, very interesting. So someone kind of mentioned the idea quite a few months back about maybe being able to do this with logic gates. And I thought, that's interesting. So I started looking into that and, diving deeper into all that stuff and learning how logic gates work and, the different things you can do with them. And then slowly I started building up the entire sequence to basically make my own architecture thing. So this is kind of like coding, but in the real world. So instead of, using, digital bytes and numbers, you're actually doing logic gates and things like that to turn things on and off at the certain time. But all you're really doing is conditioning an input to get the desired output. So that's all you gotta do is figure out what turns on and what has to happen to make that turning on make something else turn on or off. So yeah, we've got our control circuits over here, we've got our switches and our inputs, we've got our power distribution over here, and then we got the connector. But yeah, overall, it's not a super complicated design. Like, yeah, there's still quite a lot going on in here. Don't get me wrong. It's, there's quite a lot of business. But as far as designs have gone, this is kind of simple. The nice thing is that I don't have to worry about any code going bad or anything going wrong. Like, it's all hardwired. So it's got instant reaction time, and you don't have to worry about any software crashes or any bugs or things like that. Any bugs are going to be, hardwired, so that's kind of the issue, is if there is an issue with it, it'll need a new design instead of just a software update. But once you get it right, it's good to go, and you don't have to worry about programming the damn thing, and it's a lot more cost effective too. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see how this does. If you notice, there's no relays or anything like this. This is using MOSFETs, so this is my first design with MOSFETs, first design with logic gates, and just all around new ideas. So, yeah, this should be interesting. We're going to see how well these do. So anyway, what can they do? That's a good question. They do a couple things, and they do them really well. So this, everything is selected with switches over here, so we've got a couple different modes. So there's two shifting modes. We have the factory shifter, the Prindle, so you got, drive 3 and 1, 2. Or you can flip it to gearbox mode, so if you want to do a joystick or buttons or things like that, you have gears 1, 2, 3, and 4, as well as the torque converter. The next switch up here is if you want to use your power comfort switch as your manual input, or if you just want to switch instead. So this makes it a little easier. And if you have power comfort enabled and you have the factory shifter enabled, this is completely plug and play. You don't have to install a single thing. You don't have to add any extra things. You don't have to modify anything. You plug this in and you've got all the control you'd like. So that is actually really cool. And that was the biggest goal of this, is to make this super functional without any modifications. And the last one is torque converters. So we can have a separate mode where auto's auto, manual's manual, or you flip it to dual control, so the computer can control it in any position, and you can also override it and control it in any position as well. So yeah, in case you wanted to have lockup control at any point, you can do that. There's also other like littler things where we can, I have a manual override thing that we can add. So usually the way that this works is you have to flip your manual switch and then you can do your gears. Well, I made it so that you can have the gear flip the manual switch for you. So say you just want to have like a second gear switch. You don't need a big complicated shifter. You just want a gear lockout. So say you want a first gear switch, you want a second gear switch. You don't care about anything else. You flip for first, you let go and it's back to normal. If you flip for second, let go and it's back to normal. We can do that. So with that manual override, you wire the override to the manual switch. So when you push a gear, it automatically goes into manual mode and selects the gear for you. So that could be another interesting thing. So again, this is designed to be simple and, you know, just work. Like it's clever. That's the idea, is to try to make this clever and simple. So yeah, anyway, if you're interested in being a beta tester, these are going to be on the website. I think the shifters are going to go for $60, and if you'd like to add a screen, it's going to be $15 to add a screen. So these are going to be available in red and green. This is a 1-inch size. I think I'm going to abandon the 1/2-inch size because they're too small. I don't know if they're really all that useful. But I don't know if you guys want cases or anything like that. So if you know, you think this would get better as a case, then that would be something interesting. Also on the screen, this is another interesting one because this also does not require any code. So I'm kind of proud with this design as well. This you could wire directly to the transmission if you wanted to have a gear readout. You don't need any controller or anything like this. This is completely standalone per se, as long as you wired it up. All you need is S1, S2, S3, ground, and 12 volts. So this will control a single digit display and do all the gear flippy stuff, and it shows the torque converter on the decimal point and all that. So yeah, you have your gears and you get your decimal. And I'm still trying to work on it. There was a mode on here so that the screen would only turn on when you're in manual mode, but I realized I forgot a pull down resistor, so that's kind of flaky. But yeah, if that's an interesting thought, you know, let me know. But yeah, if you think this needs a case and a filter, then maybe I'll see what I can come up with. But again, it's, you know, stuff I'm working on. Now the cool thing is I should be able to adapt a 2-inch display to make that fit as well. This actually has a voltage regulator built in that is adjustable. I need to figure out how to put a hard stop so users can't accidentally, you know, blow up the display by just sending way too much voltage. But yeah, it's got an adjustable voltage regulator on there so we can set the exact voltage. That's really cool. So yeah, if you are interested in a 2-inch, you can talk to me directly and we might be able to work something out. So yeah, there's that, and the display, and all of that. So yeah, I think that's about it for that. So yeah, it'll be on the website if you want to be a beta tester. So the thing to understand, this is a prototype. It's a work in progress. There's a lot of new technologies on here I've never been able to test before. I also haven't been able to properly road test this because my Jeep's been down. So there might be issues. There might be problems. This might not be perfect. Understand what you're getting. This is a prototype. So part 2 of all this is obviously feedback. So I need to know how the device works, things you don't like, things you do like, things you might want to change, anything like that at all, anything big, small, or otherwise. You're basically helping me design a product here. So your feedback is invaluable. So I need to know, you know, just about anything and everything that you might have, and especially problems. If you have a problem, don't just go, oh, okay, it's junk, we're gonna toss it. Let me know, because it's, you know, part of what we're signing up here is you're getting a slight discount. You're getting a slight discount for a, you know, a work in progress. But in return, it'd be nice to know if there's any issues with it so I can fix them before I actually release this onto the market. So yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So yeah, I guess I'll just show you this stuff in action, so let me know what you think. Alright, don't mind the mess, but I just want to show you what's going on here. So, here it is, the Nifty Shifter Junior version 1 prototype. Super excited to see how this does in testing. So, I just want to show you what I'd say that is the bread and butter of this device. Probably its biggest feature or whatever, its its biggest selling point is how plug and play this device is. It doesn't require any modifications or wiring or anything. So I'm going to show you just how easy this is to install. So over here for our 96 and older Jeeps, back here is your transmission computer. You're going to have a bunch of screws on this. It's best to try and take the whole thing off, but I've been inside this so many frickin' times, I can't keep taking it in and out. But anyway, back here is your transmission controller. On your Renix guys, the plug is on here. On your HO guys, the plug's probably over there. But all we do is unplug this. You squeeze the tab and pull it out. And then we'll take our shifter over here and plug it in. So what it does is it plugs in between the computer and the wiring harness. Okay, so the shifter gets plugged into the computer, and then the shifter also gets plugged into the factory wiring. So easy you can do it one-handed. Kind of. So now our shifter is installed. Beautiful. We've also got a optional display. You can get these in red or green. I'm still deciding if they should be included with a case and a filter, like a tint, so you can actually read them better. Again, this is all feedback that I need with the prototype testing. So if you want to be a prototype tester, yeah, just know it's a prototype and I'm going to need feedback so I can make them better. Okay, so the display clicks in, and now we got a display. Cool beans. Alright, so we'll make sure that our switches are set properly. I believe it's going to be down for gearbox, or down for factory, and down again for power comfort. I'd have to check the thing. But anyway, now that it's plugged in, let's see what this thing can actually do. Alright, so today we're going to learn why this thing is so damn special. I haven't seen anyone else on the market do a shift controller quite like this. So one of the biggest things with the AW-4 automatic transmission is engine braking. Okay, this is where when you let off the gas, the transmission slows you down. You know, it would feel kind of like a manual. Like when you give a gas, you speed up. When you let off the gas, it slows down very quickly. You're not coasting. It's like actually slowing you down. Like it's an engine brake. And that's super useful for off-road stuff. That's controlled downhill descent. So when you're going downhill, that's what keeps your vehicle from rolling away. The transmission is actually like there's a load that's slowing you down. And you can't get that when you're in drive. So that is why this setup is so important, because you can't, like any regular, weird aftermarket shifter can't do this. This shifter here, the factory shifter, has to physically be moved to get engine braking in first, in second, and it might even be third. Well, the only time you're getting engine braking in drive is fourth gear. So, anyway. So with the use of that secondary switch over there, it allows you to use the power comfort switch as your manual switch. And this is what makes this a fully stock install. Nothing, no switches or anything have to be added besides that controller. So this is now what controls your automatic and manual modes. So with the switch in the regular mode, it works as normal. This is comfort, this is power. Now when you flip that switch to use the power comfort switch, this is now power and this is manual. And it's all you got to do is flip the switch back and forth on the device to change what mode you'd like this to be in. So just to show you, right now it's in power, but the computer thinks it's in comfort. And then when we switch this to comfort, now it thinks it's in power. So right now this is, this is normal mode right here. So you can move the shifter, gears don't change or anything. The factory computer does all the shifting for you. Now, when we turn this into power, we're in manual mode. Now we're in business. So drive is third. 3 should be second. Where you at? Okay, there we go. Okay, it's in the wrong. So, yeah, this is drive. So drive is third. 3 is second. And then 1, 2 is 1. And there you go. So now you've got engine braking in all gears. And it's completely selected through the factory shifter. It'll hold that gear no matter what, no matter when, no matter how. It'll always have the gear that you want based off this shifter here. The only important thing to understand here is that you need a working neutral safety switch. If your neutral safety switch does not work or it's not adjusted, this mode will not work. So you need a good NSS. And you can test that with a scanner. You can see over here what mode it's detecting. So as long as your neutral safety switch is adjusted and working, this mode will work for you. Excellent. There's also some modifications, so if you want to get a little more extra, there's an included extra wiring harness for adding buttons and switches. You can add a switch for something I'd like to call an overdrive mode. So this will raise every single gear by 1. So now this is 2nd, this is 3rd, and this is 4th. And you can do that just with one flip of a switch. So yeah, besides that, that is the factory shifter mode in a nutshell. You want to go back to normal, flip your switch, and boom, you're back to auto, just like that. So what do we got? I'm still trying to figure out why this is throwing solenoid faults, though. It should be doing its thingy properly, but maybe something's not wired. So anyway, yeah, this is the bread and butter mode of this device. The reason why I designed the junior model was for people that really only needed this. They didn't need anything extra fancy, just the bare bones, bare basics for a good price. So that is what this is supposed to do. It does a few things, but it does it very well. I'm trying to keep it simple here, which for me is still pretty tough. Alright, so now we got this all wired up, kind of how it would actually be used in a vehicle with a real joystick. Wowee! So all we're doing is we're taking the wires from the joystick and we're connecting them to the wires over here that go to the box. Still trying to figure out if there's an easy way to do that. I don't know if maybe I should include some kind of a wiring adapter that these ends are soldered to, so you could just connect them through here. That might be an idea. I don't know. We will find this out in the prototype batch, but just to show you how this works, so we got this joystick set up, so got first gear, second gear, third gear, and fourth gear, and they seem to hold pretty well. Obviously you'd want something gated, so you can't just, like, you know, goof around and do all that, because who knows what the heck that's gonna do, but yeah, neat. So yeah, that's the manual joystick mode in a nutshell. And then obviously you can add a switch for the torque converter and all that stuff. So yeah, I try to make this as useful as possible while still keeping it very simple. And we've also got torque converter, but that is not latching. So cool. Let's see, what else do we got? We also have an override mode for the torque converter. So now the torque converter, you can turn it on when it's in auto mode or manual mode, either or. And the interesting thing is the the transmission computer can turn the torque converter on and off at, I think, any time as well. So yeah, if you want the computer to be able to do the torque converter for you, but still have an override if you want, it's kind of like, it's like a dual control mode or alternator, something like that. Okay, so this is just some wiring testing of some logic gates for the Nifty Shifter Junior. So this right here is going to be our shifter. We have the 1-2 input, the 3 input, and the D input is just being assumed because there's not actually a selection for that, at least on older models. So when you're in first, second, this is first gear. When you're in second gear, or when you're in third, this is second gear. And when you're in drive, this is third. Now, we also have our high-low switch, or overdrive switch, whatever you want to call that. So now when we're in first, second, this is second gear. When you shift to third, now you're in third gear, and now when you're in drive, you're in fourth gear. So this way you can switch like this on the fly and go from 1, 2, 3 to 2, 3, 4. So that's everything with the factory shifter, and you know, the torque converter is just going to be its own manual switch. So all that done with just a couple logic gates. That is really cool. Not a single bit of code needed to do that. Okay, so here's logic gate part 2 for all of this fun stuff. This is going to be for our manual gearbox mode, so when you have 4 separate inputs, you know, for gears 1 through 4. So the nice thing about this is, When you push it, it works, and when you let go, it holds the gear. So it has memory, so that way you can use a toggle, like a momentary style. You don't have to continuously hold it. This is also useful if you have a joystick between a gear shift, it will remember the gear. So that's important. If you have a long throw or something like that, there could be a half second where there's no gear input. So this holds the gear indefinitely until a new button is pushed. So there you go. Got gears 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4, 3, 2, 1. Very cool, very cool. Yes.